Hello everyone, let's continue our series on epoxy resin. In the previous video we experimented for the first time this really cool art by making a lamp with a diver. Here is the link where you will find more information on the epoxy resin. In this video we are going to test a bigger project, stool. It has to hold and I challenge myself I can stand upon my feet. Let's go! Hello everyone and welcome to We Can Do It, the channel of creative and relaxed do-it-yourself. My name is Aude and I test during my free time some cool do-it-yourself using equipment accessible to all. I share with you what I like and my discoveries along my videos, hoping that it will inspire you and that you will be able to succeed even better in each of your projects. For those who had seen the previous video, A Lamp with a Diver, I had sweated a lot on cutting the wood. In this video, no wood. But I still want something around nature. So I planned some grass, fake obviously. I want also to do something very fun, so I have planned some sweet, few mini cars, flowers and picture to give a young and happy side. Basically, object as if they were forgotten on the lawn. My challenge for this video, a natural stool with light and that holds, and why not with casters? Will I succeed? Let's see at the end.
Bzz, bzz, bzz. Bzz, bzz, bzz.
As you can see, I decided to cheat a little. Instead of waiting 6 hours between each coat of resin as recommended, I want to go for half, 3 hours. My goal, to do all the layers of resin in the same day. For this, I plan to use a heating mat. Will it work? Will it be enough? Let's see at the unmolding. So was it a good idea to use the heating mat? Well, yes and no. Yes, the resin had hardened sufficiently so I could make all my layers of resin in one single day, and that's great. On the other hand, the heat was very strong and the shape of the resin changed a little. Next time I think I will lift a little bit the mold so that it heats up less. Well, it doesn't matter, it's the part which is below which is slightly curved, the part which is visible is really flat, so that's perfect. Come on now, time for sanding. For this video I will stop at 320 grit and not 3000 because I have planned for the finish to pour some resin to have a nice smooth surface. I will do that at the end. So the sanding should be quite easy. I'm almost gonna miss it. Now let's move to the next step on how to make the legs of the stool. So I thought quite a lot about how I would like to make the legs of the stool. Finally I decided I will do without resin but still using the grass to keep the nature spirit. I'm going to use all chair legs and a piece of road covered with grass. It will be simpler, cheaper and still very nice. Let's go! Alright, all I have to do now is to make sure that the stool isn't wobbly. As the bottom of my seat is not completely flat, I could not calculate precisely the size of my legs, so I made all my legs at the same size. To have a straight stool, I decided to use wedges. Here are wedges of 2 mm. I will pour resin at the base of the legs with the wedges, and like that I should have a stool very stable. I hope so. We can do it! It's done, we have our stool. We're still missing one last step. I said at the start that I will stand up on my feet on the stool. Will it hold? Let's see! Mission accomplished! So, the conclusion on this stool, well, if we summarize, the lawn, it's nice, but it takes a lot of space and at the same time it does not take up a lot of volume. Basically, I had to use a lot of resin to cover the grass. And for this type of project, it's always important to try to reduce the resin as much as possible if you don't want to spend the price of 5 stools instead of 1. For that reason, I decided to do the legs without the resin, and ultimately I really like the hybrid look with and without resin. To finish the seat, I decided to pour resin on top instead of sanding up to the maximum. Quicker to make, but I found quite difficult to have perfect edges without traces of pouring. Also, we lose a little bit of resin which overflows on the sides. So there is nothing like a good sanding if you don't master the technique 100%. And you don't have to wait for 3 days for those in a hurry. Anyway, that's still a nice technique, quite handy and worth to perfect. Now, how long did it take me to make the stool? Well, the project was spread over 4 weekends, 1 weekend to make the seats, 1 for the legs, 1 for the final layer, and the last one to admire the result after complete hardening. If you liked the video, don't forget to like and to subscribe to check more videos and to leave me a comment. In short, that was a very fun project to carry out, to customize, especially with the suite, and I can tell you that the legs are really solid. See you soon, the stools are yours!